What's up, YouTubers and plant lovers? It's Justin, and today I was going to do a little bit of work on my Cornus Florida. Now, you guys probably know it as the flowering dogwood. This is one of my definite top 5 favorite bonsai trees I've had. He's been in this training pot for about 2 years now, so I wanted to do a little bit of general well maintenance pruning, pull a couple of these weeds out, and just kind of tell you a little bit about how I care for such a large bonsai tree of this stature. Like I said, this is definitely one of my top 5 favorite bonsai trees. I've had this guy for a while now, and he's doing relatively well. But this season, I had to move him around a couple of times, and I can tell that a lot of his leaves are kind of burning a little bit. Now, as I said, it's the flowering dogwood, so they are more of an understory when it comes to the trees. They rarely ever top 40 feet. So they're usually kind of smaller and underneath other canopies where they don't get a whole bunch of direct sunlight. So you do want to take care not to burn your leaves out. Mature trees can tolerate a little bit of direct sunlight, but younger ones, they do need a little bit of shade to protect them from the harsh sun rays, especially during the hotter part of the days. Now, this is a really easy plant to take care of. It thrives from like zones 3 down to 8. I know it goes from like southern New England all the way up to about northern Florida, and I'm in zone 6, so it's really right at home here. It is a little bit chilly for a dogwood, but if you've got enough protection and you've got your tree from a reputable dealer locally, your tree should be fine for the winter time. They really thrive in kind of slightly acidic soils. About 5.5 on up to about 6.5 for the soil pH. They'll tolerate a wide range of soils nationally, anywhere from a slightly acidic sandy soils on up to clay that can compact a little bit. So they'll thrive just about anywhere as long as a bunch of other needs are met. They'll even kind of thrive in some kind of urban polluted areas that other trees may not fare so well in. And what they use to make up for their well-being in those kind of situations, they really do kind of fall victim to a couple of diseases and a couple of pests as well. I know with the droops or the berries that they get, a lot of birds feed on those, and then the deer will kind of munch on fresh stems and a little bit of the leaves as well. Flowering dogwood will kind of set up home for about 118 different kinds of moths and some butterflies as well. So they are a great tree to plant in any kind of garden where you don't have a whole lot of room, because they fare so well with all these insects, birds, and in the spring when they get all their flowers or their bracts, they are a great plant for pollinators as well. Birds, bees, and butterflies all like them. Alright, so I'm going to be very gently pulling out some of this knotweed here. Any of these weeds down in here will kind of compete for added nutrients and water with your tree, so you don't want a whole lot growing in that sense. Just throw it over the fence there, and I'll compost that later if I get to it. And remember, just lightly pull. You don't want to rip it out and do damage to the tree's roots as well. Now in the winter time, I set him up in the garage and I use straw for the mulch bed, and I will get a couple of weeds coming in from that as well. But straw is an excellent insulator, and it's very cheap. I'm going to pull out any of that I see, any residual mulch. And as I said, I'm going to need to do some general pruning, and I'm just going to lightly prune some of these leaves that have been burnt, just for aesthetic purposes. Alright, now I know the tree's doing relatively well. It's got some new growth coming in, and with these newer branches that come out, they appear really light green to lighter brown. So it's easy to spot where the new stems are coming in. Now, using these thinner pruning shears makes it a lot easier to get in and prune the right leaf instead of the whole stem. And then as I get in there, I look over and under every leaf to make sure I don't see any kind of pests that may be hanging on. As you probably know, or may not know, dogwood, flowering dogwood, is susceptible to powdery mildew. That is a huge problem that I've had with other dogwood trees in this area, just because of all the moisture and humidity that remains in the environment around here. That is a recipe for disease and pests. Now, if you do find that you do have a problem with powdery mildew, you can use some anti-transparent, kind of like moisture lock, to kind of put on the leaves to make sure your tree isn't losing a whole bunch of moisture and thereby having a problem with powdery mildew. Make sure that you don't see any kind of other stems sticking out that may be dead like I have, or any branches that are crossing, because branches that cross can rub raw an opening and invite pests and disease in. Now I've got some of this newer growth up top, so I don't want to nick too much in that area. But as you trim the branches, get it as close to the stem as possible. And if you can see green down inside, your tree's doing okay. If you see a bunch of dead branches, you probably have a problem. Part of the day, I like to water mine early morning to make sure that a lot of that will be absorbed before it ends up evaporating. I'll get up early and water my dogwood tree to make sure. And I usually just get it around the soil. Take care not to get a bunch on the leaves, because that can invite rot or fungi like a powdery mildew. So make sure that that's going to be off before the sun hits it during the hotter part of the day, because that can help scorch leaves as well. Now I know some cats like to come through and sharpen their claws on my bonsai tree, so make sure you position these where your feline friends can't really get a hold of them. Mine got a hold of the back one back here last year, and it's just now starting to recover, and I think that's why I do have a little bit of dead up here at the top and some dead branching as well. Now, as I said, the tree is susceptible to ambrosia beetle, dogwood borers, and cankers, but it's less prone in light shade, so make sure you don't have it sitting out in direct sun, because that will stress the plant out a lot too. It is also less susceptible to ambrosia beetle in well-draining soil, so you want something with a lot of rocks and sand in the soil to help kind of rid the soil of extra moisture. Now I've got some nice root development down here at the base of the tree. I can tell this tree is kind of young because the bark is smoother. As the tree ages, it will be kind of blotchy and splotty and almost look like alligator skin on the branch or the stem. As I said earlier, they do like slightly acidic soil. Some acidity booster might benefit your dogwood if it's starting to look a little sickly. And I don't feed mine too often. Alright guys, now that's really all I wanted to do with this tree. There are some leaves that look like they may need a little bit of a pruning. I just want to leave them on to make sure I don't see nothing else wrong with the rest of the tree. Also with this top area, I want to make sure it's going to recover nicely. So I will go ahead and do an update video in a couple weeks to let you know how this tree has turned out. Alright guys, I wanted to take a brief moment and give a shout out to my Patreon subscribers. If you were interested in sending me a question or getting some plant advice, feel free to hit me up on there. That is the fastest way to get me to respond. I'm often bogged down by messages and emails and things of that nature. Well guys, this is Justin reminding you to take some time, and if you can, go out and plant a tree. And don't forget, if you can, leave me a comment and hit the subscribe button or the bell next to it. That way you'll know anytime that I've uploaded a new video. Take it easy, have a good one, and don't forget, always plant prudently. Thank you, YouTube.